We're going to switch topics and we're going to move on to the economy now. Let's face it, Quebec's economy is booming. Unemployment rates have hit record lows and government coffers have a healthy surplus. Still, overall, we're paying the highest taxes in the country, and that's what Mike Fahey's question from Gatineau is about tonight.
Many seniors in Quebec are living in poverty, can barely make ends meet, yet they still have to pay income tax. What would your party do to relieve the tax burden on all Quebecers, especially seniors?
Mike, thank you very much for your question. And François Legault, you can respond first. You have 1 minute and then we'll go around.
Yeah. First problem, and the most important economic problem we have in Quebec, is the level of salary. The average salary in Ontario is $52,000. In Quebec, it's $47,000. And this gap of 11% was there 15 years ago and hasn't changed since 15 years ago. So yes, the average salary increased in Quebec, but increased more, and the difference is still the same. We propose three things for seniors. First, we will reduce school taxes by another $700 million. Second, for families, we'll give $2,400 per child, a new allowance. And thirdly, we will cut the famous family tax that was put in place by Mr. Couillard for the child care.
All right, thank you, Mr. Legault. Mr. Couillard.
Well, I don't agree on this and other things with Mr. Legault. The main economic challenge of Quebec today is not salary. Salary has been increasing faster in Quebec and the rest of Canada in 2017. It's labor shortage, which still today, Mr. Legault refuses to recognize exists. And we know the solutions. One of them is immigration, but also education, full participation in the workforce, and automatization. We know what to do, and we have to do this. But to say that this is not the main challenge is to go to the wrong direction. Nobody agrees. Nobody agrees with Mr. Legault when he says that. Now, as far as the gentleman's question goes, we have already indicated that we would increase the disposable income of seniors to a variety of tax credits in order to raise the amount you get without paying taxes to up to $30,000. And also for seniors who are active and would like to go back to work, but will not go back to work because of fiscal penalties, they can delay their Régie des Rentes du Québec for a few years without penalty, so they will not get double tax for employment and also their pension. That's the right way to go to keep seniors active and back in the workforce.
I just want to remind you to keep your answers to the questions and not to the other candidates in these sections, in these 1 minute sections. We're just trying to get those answers from our viewers and readers answered. We'll go on to Manon Massé now.
Yeah, of course, seniors play a big role in our society. And for us, have a citizen very involved in their society, it's so important. So for us, we will reimburse, let's say we will reimburse the tax credit for home care, you know, for these people who get older and needs to have support to stay home, and it will represent $10,000 a year. We will also reduce the bill that you receive. I mean, Hydro-Québec, the bill that you receive for your great children. Then Québec Solidaire will want to give the possibility to the people, to the senior, to get and go back to the society and get involved for everyone.
Thank you, Manon Massé. Jean-Francois Lisée.
Well, I'd like to answer the question of the gentleman from the Outaouais. You asked a question about elderly people who have budgetary problems. Mr. Legault answered on family issues and school taxes that have no bearing on his situation. I think one of the things that is very important is that as you grow older, you should be able to stay in your lodging or your home with a lot of home care. That's the best way to do it. We propose double the amount than the two other main parties propose. We also say that if you are a low-income elderly person, you should have $350 extra every year. You do what you want with it. Mr. Couillard made an interesting proposal, as we did, on a different tack on how to make sure that retirees that stay in the workforce keep more of their money. Our proposal is that you can opt out of the Régie des Rentes. That makes 5% more revenue. Mr. Couillard's proposal is interesting. As Premier, I would try to implement it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lisée. Now, there are some differing views here, clearly, on how to put more money in Quebecers' pockets. Let's talk about the critical issue now of unfilled jobs. Some economists warn the labor shortage is threatening the economic health of Quebec. So what will you do to fill the more than 90,000 job vacancies in the province? This is an open debate question. Mr. Legault, you get to start things off, and then you can all hop in.
Okay. First, I want to repeat that for me, the most important economic problem in Quebec is the level of salary. We receive equalization payment because the level of salary is not as high as in the rest of Canada. But yes, we have problems filling some jobs. What do we have to do? First, we have to change the way we choose immigrants. Right now, 26% of new immigrants, they leave Quebec. So there's a major problem there. Second, our dropout rates are a lot higher in Quebec than in Ontario. And that's why we propose to start school at 4 years old. Because right now, many companies, they are asking for a secondary 5 before hiring somebody. So Mr. Couillard has to put more emphasis on education, on vocational training, on making sure that people in Quebec, they can accept better jobs and that we invest in our companies to increase productivity and average salary.
Thank you.
We all agree on productivity, but Mr. Legault, I don't understand how you can deny the importance of labor shortage. Here you go again.
I don't deny.
Here, I had a quote from you, August 28th, when I'm told that the biggest economic challenge is the shortage of employees. I do not agree. Ask restaurant owners in Abitibi, I'll be there tomorrow. Ask even people in Montreal. Ask the mayor of Montreal today, who said that there were 3% unfilled jobs in Montreal, which is a big, big economic problem. Yes, immigration is a solution, but also, and then I agree with you, proper education, training for the right jobs with the right skills, full participation in the workforce. Women have made tremendous progress in Quebec, but we need to bring seniors to keep them, as we just discussed, in the workforce, First Nations, people living with handicaps, and automatization like artificial intelligence and related technologies that allow us to produce as much goods with less people. So it's a variety of solutions, but it starts with recognizing the problem exists, Mr. Legault. How can you say that it doesn't exist?
How can you explain that we lose 26%?
Mr. Legault, I'd like to give Manon Massé an opportunity to come in.
Thank you. I think labor shortage, it's a great moment to increase, to improve working conditions. You know, you said that we need a better salary but you cannot be able to raise the minimum wage to $15. And these people who work 40 hours a week needs to have money in their pocket to buy food, to pay their rent, But you always said, no, it's impossible. For us, we will, because we know that improving the working condition, it's a way to attract people to the job, because we have to remember that the unemployment, not ratio, but the unemployment, it's the double for the people from the minorities community. Can we explain it? How? Yes, it's the double.
Let's let Mr. Lisée get in now, please.
Thank you. Well, I would say, Mr. Legault, that labor shortage is a real issue, and there are a number of ways to address it. Well, First Nations, for example, Ghislain Picard said, since there were labor shortage in the regions, could we not maximize the employment of the youth from the First Nations and the Inuit? I think it's a great idea. We are losing 20 to 30,000 people per year who move out of Quebec. Some of them because they don't speak French. I want them to stay here. We are losing on 50,000 immigrants that you greeted every year. 15,000 have left. Half of them because they didn't speak French. I want them to stay here, and I want immigrants who are here to partake in the growth that we have. And certainly, we need newcomers to match our needs. But let's not try to pin with a dart if it's 40,000 or 60,000. Let's have a fact-based discussion about our needs and have sound public policy with that.
But obviously, we should not decrease the number. That's the first obvious
That's what
thing.
you did.
Today, the mayor of Montreal said there's no way she would be helped with decreasing the number. We didn't do this, by the way. But you keep denying that there's a labor shortage. And you say the issue actually is not enough jobs at $25, $30 an hour. There's a company in Sherbrooke called Super Metal, who the director told you directly, I cannot imagine how M. Legault can say such things. If I were to raise my employees' salaries at $25 an hour today, I would close the company. So it shows total lack of knowledge of the reality of small and medium businesses.
Couillard, you haven't answered the question of Mr. Lisée and mine. How come we lose 26% of new immigrants if it's the solution? Why do we lose 26%? Can you admit that it's a failure of your government?
Not at all. What we are seeing here is that M. Legault is trying to find an excuse to decrease immigration for whatever reasons, whatever problems he has with immigrants, I don't know. Now, if you look at other provinces in Canada, and more studies will be coming shortly, the loss rate, which of course we regret, would like each of them to stay, is not that different between Quebec and other large provinces.
It's higher.
You're happy with that?
Ours is higher.
Not for all provinces. You will see this very shortly.
Well, it's more than most. It's more than most. Admit that. We're not doing as well.
We're doing better. We're doing better than some provinces.
26%. You're happy.
You will see this very shortly.
You're happy that we're losing 26%.
I've never heard a political leader in Quebec ever recommend not only diminishing the number of immigrants we take in, but proposing expulsion tests for immigrants, which make them very, very frightened today. They are frightened of what the CAQ is proposing. They will submit them to value testing, which nobody knows what it's about, and a French test. And I asked him about a family the other day, what they would do if the father flunked his exam, and he couldn't answer. I guess you'll just drop them at the McDonald-Cartier Bridge.
Can I answer that?
Go ahead.
You'll just drop them on the McDonald-Cartier Bridge in Hull and say whatever you want, get rid of these people.
Mr. Legault,
that's what people hear when they hear you, Mr. Legault.
Already, Mr. Couillard, the federal government has French and English tests, and it's also tests of knowledge about values in Canada. So why are you against having those tests done by the Quebec government? Why do you agree that they do these tests in Ottawa, but you say Quebec, we can't?
Please, this is so nonsensical. Don't you know?
Doesn't make sense.
Don't you know? Please, don't you know?
You're against those tests?
Don't you know that when they pass those tests to become citizen, if they fail the test, they stay in Quebec.
Yes.
They stay in Quebec as landed immigrants forever if they wish. You would have the federal government deport them. That's your position. It is appalling.
That's true. Come on,
the position is appalling.
We know you don't understand immigration.
What you say is that they have to succeed the French test before coming in Quebec, which means that you will refuse people with a lot of qualification, engineers from all kinds of countries, if they don't speak French.
Okay, Mr. Legault, you have the last word.
We'll be back with that. I have a lot to say about that.
You have the last word on that. Thank you very much. That closes the economy. But boy, it moves quickly, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And if you want to talk more about immigration, well, we've got it coming.